Animal shelter saved huge dog, but only found out the unbelievable truth after a DNA test. When the call came in, this woman dropped everything on her schedule to head to Broward County. Upon getting there, she was shocked to see the size of this dog. She felt sick when she stared into the yellow eyes of the animal. She knew that beneath the sleek black coat were powerful muscles that could do harm to everyone in the vicinity. Right away, the woman knew that someone lied to her, which was eventually confirmed by DNA results. However, she was hoping the poor animal wasn't going to be the one to pay for this mess. Nancy Smith is such a huge animal lover that she founded an animal sanctuary of her own. It was her goal to help all the animals in need. The sanctuary offers a great environment and rehabilitation for the creatures they take in. She handpicked the members of the team and ensured everyone was driven and passionate. But not a single one of them has encountered anything like this in the past. Brittany Allen started working at the shelter a decade ago. Soon as she saw this new rescue, she knew the steps she had to take. This might very well be the most intimidating animal she'd ever seen in her life, but there was an instant connection. However, anger took over her body when she learned what happened to him before he was taken to the shelter. One day, Nancy Smith received a weird phone call. This happened only one day before she drove out to the east coast of Florida to pick up an animal at the Broward Animal Shelter. The caller didn't want to disclose his identity and informed her that he had to surrender his pet. When asked why, he only said his animal grew much larger than any of them expected. According to this person, he thought he knew what he was in for. He already did his homework, looked up reviews, and got used to the needs of an exotic canine breed. Aside from that, he already bought everything for the animal: collar, bed, engraved tag, shampoo, lead, the works. This was the reason he thought he was ready for such a big commitment. However, he started to worry after the creature outgrew the lead collar and bed. This was where the story started. Even though he knew that Yuki was going to be huge as an adult, he was shocked to see how big the canine was growing. The animal was already 5 feet tall by the age of 8 months. It was already bigger than what the breeder had in mind. Not long after this, Yuki could no longer live inside the house because of his size. The man created a shelter for the canine in the yard, but that was temporary. Yuki might have only been a puppy, but he was already big enough to scare the man. He was showing certain features they didn't see before. He had huge claws and large teeth, which scared the breeder. Eventually, the man realized he got more than he bargained for. It was time to face the music. This was how he ended up calling Nancy Smith and asking his sanctuary for help. Nancy listened to his story but informed the man they were already at full capacity. She promised to let him know when a slot opened up. However, this was not good enough for the caller. According to him, his friend bought the dog from a breeder and only later realized it was too much to handle. The day after that, Nancy received a call from a place known as Broward Animal Shelter. Over the years, the people at Broward Animal Shelter had taken care of hundreds of animals, but this was different than most. They were quick to figure out they couldn't handle the creature tied up outdoors, and so they asked Nancy to come over as soon as she possibly could. Before anything else, they wanted to bring the creature to safety. After that, they'd call the authorities. When Nancy finally arrived at Broward Animal Shelter, she saw something she'd never forget. She found a huge beast pacing in a cage. His huge jaws remained open and his claws were splayed out on the concrete. His hot breath steamed the air when he panted. After seeing the size of his teeth and head, Nancy felt chills down her spine. The animal stood at 5 feet 4 inches, so there was no way that it was a dog. After talking to the staff members, she couldn't believe what she heard. Nancy spoke to the staff and found out they discovered the poor creature tied up outside the shelter. The employees recorded him as a stray. It was too big of a coincidence to be unrelated to the phone call she received the previous day. Right away, she knew that she was looking at the animal that the caller was talking about. It looked like the person just couldn't wait for a space to open up at her shelter and did things his own way. Very irresponsible. Nancy felt a surge of pity for the animal. It was clear the owner didn't do enough research on hybrids before he got one. The poor creature now had to pay the high price for his careless actions. While she was furious about what happened, she led him to the van. She first made him go through a DNA test to see if her suspicions were right, but she was rendered incredulous by what she learned. Fans of Game of Thrones would probably think Yuki looked like a direwolf. He was in pretty good shape when compared to the other animals that are taken to the animal sanctuary. It was quite surprising to learn he was outgoing and friendly. Even though he looked scary, the team once considered turning him into an ambassador for the sanctuary. Nancy and the rest of the Shy Wolf Sanctuary team ran a DNA test on their new rescue. This was what confirmed her worst suspicions. When they got the results, they found Yuki was 3.9% German Shepherd, 8.6% Siberian Husky, and 87.5% Gray Wolf. This meant that he was a high-content wolf dog, which is illegal to either breed or own in the state of Florida. If you go through history, you'll know that humans have always had a fascination with wolves. This is probably the reason for the rise of the wolf-dog hybrid. Uneducated buyers and breeders try to make a breed that is as beautiful as a wolf but as friendly and loyal as a man's best friend. But a lot of these people don't know the consequences of their actions, both to the wolf dogs and themselves. It's very risky to make a wolf-dog hybrid because you never know what traits the result's gonna inherit. There's no way to tell which side's gonna be dominant. The pups might look like wolves but retain the personality of a dog or the other way around. This is the reason why some states don't allow the ownership of high-content wolf dogs. These are not the only things that could pose problems as well. Most often, a lot of owners realize what they've gotten into far too late. Wolf dogs and wolves both need plenty of space to run, more food than a regular dog, and need to be trained even more intensely. If you're used to having regular dogs, it's gonna take some getting used to the maintenance of these creatures. Wolf dogs are usually too tame to live in the wild, but too wild to remain in a dog shelter. When they're abandoned, it's hard for them to find a new home. Ever since Shy Wolf Sanctuary opened its doors 2 decades ago, it's seen a huge rise in the number of abandoned wolf dogs. At the moment, it rescues 20 to 100 wolf dogs from different parts of the United States. The very first rescue the team's ever made was the 3-legged leopard, but wolf dogs are now the most abandoned exotic animals in the establishment. Nancy was already thinking about looking for the previous owner, but something happened to change the life of Yuki before she could get around to that. Shortly after Yuki arrived at Shy Wolf Sanctuary, he was going around outside when his leg got caught on a palmetto and ended up leaving a wound on his knee on the right rear leg. In the end, he had to undergo 5 surgeries before the injury was fixed. Around this time, the team at the Animal Sanctuary noticed the poor creature was starting to act more aggressively in his cage. Despite everything, they started to get to know Yuki more as his personality developed. After a while, he'd let a couple of women come into the cage. He didn't trust a lot of people, but he trusted Brittany. It was a good thing that the two of them had each other at the very least. At the time, however, no one had a clue that he was going to turn into an internet star. How did this even happen? One day, Brittany put up a photo of Yuki on the Facebook page of the Animal Sanctuary. The photo revealed the true size of the canine. He clearly dwarfed Brittany, who stands at 5'4". Not long after she uploaded the photo, it made the rounds on social media. Many netizens were shocked to see the size of the wolf dog. In fact, some were so incredulous and claimed it must have been photoshopped. Brittany had the perfect response. "It's just his fat angle, guys, we all have one." Soon enough, the photo went completely viral. People from different parts of the globe left comments. Everyone couldn't believe Yuki existed. They definitely are creatures that demand respect. It would be a much different encounter in the wild than what I do with these guys. The animals I work with have never been in the wild and never will be, so they're more socialized, Brittany said. "We show off their adorable moments in the hope of helping people identify with them at least and maybe change their fear response into healthy respect through education," she went on, "and also giving an animal a chance at a decent life when otherwise they'd be euthanized." While people were delighted by this photo, the sanctuary soon had to deal with some terrible news. What was it? For quite some time already, Yuki hadn't been acting like his regular self. He wasn't eating as much and he didn't appear excited like he was. When a team member showed him his favorite toy, the canine wasn't interested. The staff could see he was moping in the cage and only engaging in playtime every now and then. They knew it was time to see what was going on. Sadly, the team found out Yuki was suffering from cancer. What made it worse was that it was terminal. Even though they've dealt with such a thing in the past, they hoped Yuki was going to survive. After all, he was clearly a fighter. After some time, the team just wanted to ensure they'd make the most out of the time they had with Yuki. Yuki first arrived at the shelter in 2008. He's already left an impact on the staff and guests in the years he spent at the shelter. People always fell in love with him thanks to his cheeky and outgoing personality. He's been living there for 12 years now, so we're not surprised to hear how many people he's won over since then. However, his mark on Shy Wolf Sanctuary extended even further than the adoration of his fans. Today, Yuki's one of the most interesting animals in the sanctuary. He's not an easy guy to get to know, but he does have a small number of volunteers he's bonded with, explained Jeremy Albrecht. He went on, "He's gained the nickname Woo Woo because when he sees any of his chosen volunteers, that's the noise he makes, beckoning that the volunteer comes to spend time with him." Ever since the photo of Yuki and Brittany went viral, more visitors and support have come in for the sanctuary. To this day, Nancy Smith and the rest of the team continue to raise awareness regarding the plight of wolf dogs. This would have been a harder task if they did not have Yuki with them.